Well, good evening, my survivor sisters. How are you?
Good evening, Survivor Sisters,
Hello, I
Joyce and
like that
Charlene.
Survivor
I say
Sisters.
it all the time. Been saying it.
That's
I'm gonna have
right.
to borrow
hmm
that. I like
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
that. Like it.
I think our host is having some technical difficulties. So
That's okay. The
yeah,
devil is a liar. He
And
can't stop the good news from getting spread.
I know that's
we,
right.
we still gonna honor him and talk about our healing.
We got too
Yeah.
many ways to get the word out. We can tweet, we can text, we can email.
So
We
we're
sure
gonna go
can.
ahead while we're waiting for our host to get her Wi-Fi connected properly. Take a second to share on your phones. If you got the flyer, then
Yeah.
go ahead and share it and let people know we're on live now.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm gonna do that.
Tonight's show, we're going to be talking about breast cancer and breast cancer awareness because this is breast cancer awareness month. And breast cancer is responsible for more than 40,000 deaths in the United States each year, along with more than
We're on
265,000
live
cancer
now.
diagnoses.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm gonna do that.
So we are fortunate that new treatments have been pushed.
Tonight's show, we're gonna be talking about. Okay, I shared it. We're done.
Okay, we're getting a lot of
Have been
feedback.
Okay, I'm off. I was just sharing it. Yes.
Do you have your earbuds in?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has have their earbuds in
Yes.
I
because we
don't have
were
earbuds.
because you were sharing it, it was feeding back into the program.
Right. Right.
Okay, so while we're waiting for Elena to come back on, our hostess, our Bougie Girl hostess, it's always an honor to share on Bougie Girls Cyber Happy Hour. Um, I'm so very proud and elated of these young women who have made this very empowering platform. It's such a positive place for women to be encouraged and enlightened. The topics that they always addressed are relevant for every woman. So it's a delight, to once again be invited to share on this platform. And as I said
Right.
earlier, we're going to share tonight on breast cancer awareness because we're all survivors by the grace of God. So Elena is our host tonight, and I think she's having some technical difficulty. But the show always goes on. Um, I'm Mama Bougie. So
That's when the bougie started.
the creator of this platform is Miranda Chenault, and God gave her a vision to empower, encourage, enlighten, and empower women. And Bougie stands for bold, one of a kind, unbothered, God's girl, intentional, and elegant. So, it's a platform to encourage women. The connotation that bougie has had in the past can sometimes be denoted as negative, but God gave her a positive spin on being bougie. So
Right.
tonight, ladies, thank you for joining us on Bougie Girls Cyber Happy Hour. This is a special edition. Normally, Bougie Girls airs at 7 p.m. on Friday nights, but this week it has a special night because of breast cancer awareness. So take a few minutes and introduce yourselves, and let our audience know something about you, and then we'll begin to talk about our journeys as survivors. And we could start with you, Charlene.
Well, Charlene Hollins, last name Upshaw, Charlene Upshaw Hollins, and because we don't have any more males in the family to carry on the family name, I decided to keep Upshaw in my name. So Charlene Upshaw Hollins, and I'm just excited to be on this platform. I'm excited to have opportunity to share my story because I found out that after becoming a breast cancer patient and now breast cancer survivor, for every patient and every survivor, there's a different story. And
That's
so
right.
I'm always excited to hear somebody else's story and always hopeful that my story will be an encouragement to somebody as well. So just glad to be here and look forward to hearing. I know a little bit of Joyce's story, not much as much as I should. Joyce and I go back to what, third grade?
Oh
The,
gosh.
the third grade.
I don't know,
Third
but
grade.
I don't know, but you're older than me, so
Ah,
She always like to throw that in there. You want to know about how old, like I was 14, 13 days?
I don't know. I don't know.
13
But
days.
we go back a lifetime. We go back a
Yes,
lifetime.
we've been
So
friends a very long time.
yeah. So
Michelle,
there,
go ahead and
yeah.
introduce yourself and let us
Okay.
know.
I'm Michelle Stevenson. I am a two-time breast cancer survivor
Wow.
with a mother that had breast cancer 3 times. So I have several stories I can get into about how God has been good as far as healing me. My mother finally did pass at the young age of 59, which I'm at 52 right now. So early detection, and especially in the Black community, like we've got to get tested early because I was only 36 the first time I had it in 2005. So if we're talking about not getting mammograms until we're 40, a lot of us wouldn't even be here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to test early. So I can get into my story in a given time, but yeah, it's been a journey. But
Well,
lumpectomy the first time, bilateral mastectomy the second time. So I still have to get my mammograms on one breast, but God is good. So
yes. Okay, lean back so your full face will be in
oh
the camera, Michelle.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Charlene, don't lean in. Okay. All right. So I'm Joyce Houston. I'm Elena Stevens' mother, one of the producers of Bougie Girl Cyber Happy Hour. And at the age of 44, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Um, and the thing about breast cancer is it doesn't have to be in your family. I was the first one in my family to be diagnosed with breast cancer. So this is the type of cancer that, early detection is very important because if it's not detected early, it can be, terminal. There are several types of breast cancer, and I'll let you ladies begin to tell your stories about when you were diagnosed and how did you discover your breast cancer, and what types of treatments were offered to you. Charlene, you want to share?
Oh, okay. It I'm gonna go back and very briefly over a 4 year period because my when I found out, I did not respond to the news, and I'm gonna go back and so that it can be understood why. In 2016, my husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer. We went into that we had surgery. We went into the hospital for supposedly a 3 to 4 day stay, wind up being there 32 days in isolation because while he was there he contracted a very life threatening infection. 2017, we lost our home that we had been in since we arrived here after Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Harvey. So 2016, my husband's prostate cancer. 2017, Harvey, living in a hotel for 14 weeks. 2018, getting ready to go on a girls weekend cruise with some of my co-workers. And the night before we left, we were supposed to be cruising out of New Orleans. The night before we left, one of the ladies I was traveling with got sick, went to the emergency room. Long story short, she was in kidney failure and was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer. So I stayed behind on the cruise to stay with her. Got her back to Texas. A week later, my husband had a stroke. So this is 2018. So 2019, February 2019 is when I went for my mammogram. And it had been a couple years since I had had a mammogram. And what prompted me to schedule a mammogram then is because my baby brother was fighting a very rare type of cancer at the time. And I had come back from the hospital visiting him, and I was at my desk at work. I'm like, I haven't had a mammogram in a couple of years. I need to schedule me a mammogram. So I scheduled the mammogram, went had the mammogram done kind of towards the end of February. A few days after getting the having my mammogram done, I got a certified letter from MD Anderson. And I didn't go get it. I refused to go get it because I knew if they were sending me a certified letter, that wasn't good. That wasn't good news. And I was like, I don't have time to deal with anything else. For 4 years straight, I've dealt with just like one major catastrophe after another. And at this point in early 2019, they were saying that eventually my husband was cancer. Now he is. And I just was like, I don't need another thing in my life, and I'm just not going to get the letter. And I know that's crazy because not addressing something does not mean it does not exist. But that's where I was in my life. That's where I was. I'm like, I have to take care of my husband. I can't afford for anything to be wrong with me. Now, I work at MD Anderson. I've been in clinical cancer research now for 28 years. I worked with women with breast cancer when I was at LSU in New Orleans for 7, 8 years. So I knew how important it was that if they saw something that I needed to address it immediately. But even with that knowledge, my concern was I don't have time for anything to be wrong with me because I got to take care of other people. So I did what a lot of women do. I put me on a back burner because I felt like I didn't have time to take care of myself. And finally, I started getting phone calls, and then I wouldn't answer the phone. I wouldn't answer the calls because I work at MD Anderson, so I know MD Anderson's number when I see it. So this went on, crazy or not, this went on until I want to say June. And finally, I was like, let me just let me just see what's going on. And of course, they told me that they had seen something that I needed to come in for further testing, and so I went in and had an ultrasound done, and they did the ultrasound, and they said, well, the doctor's going to look at it, and if we need you to come, do a biopsy, we'll schedule you to come back in for a biopsy. Well, the doctor came in, he said, we need to do a biopsy. I'm like, okay, they told me I might have to come back. He's like, no, we're going to see if we can get it done today. I was like, what? So they didn't do it that day because they couldn't get it done. But I went in for another mammogram, and I forget the name of that mammogram, but it's the one where you lay flat on the table and your boob is kind of hanging through a opening, and they do it from underneath. So I did that. And I finally got the official word in June that it was breast cancer. Thankfully, it still was in a stage 1. It was still early stage. So I thank God for that. When I knew for sure that I had breast cancer, immediately one of the first things, not the first things, but one of the first things that came to my mind is I wanted to participate in a clinical trial. I wanted to find out whatever treatment I was going to have, was there a clinical trial available? Because as a person of color, because I've been in this field for 28 years, I know that minorities, traditionally, we do not do clinical trials. We do not do clinical trials mostly, in my experience from talking to people, it's a trust factor. We don't trust.
That's right.
There's no trust. We don't want to be used as quote unquote guinea pigs. And The barriers there are high and they are strong in the minority community when it comes to clinical trials. So because I lost a father to leukemia, my grandfather to head and neck, my uncle to glioblastoma, my baby brother to and the name of his cancer is this real long name, but it was a type of intestinal type cancer. I was like, I have lost too many people to this fight. And whatever little thing I can do, however significant it may or may not be, I want to do it. So it was very important to me to participate in a clinical trial. Thankfully, there was a clinical trial available. I did proton therapy radiation. And I did that as part of a clinical trial. And it I know so many women. They didn't
Isn't it?
survive it. They didn't survive the cancer. They didn't survive the cancer. So I did genetic testing as well as a part of a clinical trial because cancer is so prevalent in my family. They wanted to see if there was genetically something there. Thank God there was not. And like Joyce, I was the first woman that I know of in my family because unfortunately, so much of our family medical history we do not know because older people did not talk about things. But as far as I know, I was the first one with diagnosed with breast cancer. And statistically, what I know from when I worked with breast cancer women, most women who are diagnosed are the first women in their families. You would think it was the opposite, but it's not. Most women are the first women in their family. So it's been a journey, and one of the things that that I want women to understand that number one, it is important to get screened and early, especially being African American women, but also that we have to learn to take care of ourselves. It's a cliche saying, and we heard it before, but you can't take care of somebody else if you're not well. And honestly, I was so focused on I gotta be here, I gotta take care of my husband. He has all these things going on. I have a granddaughter that I'm, you know, helping with, and I was like, foolishly saying I can't afford to be sick. I can't afford to have anything wrong with me. And we have to take better care of ourselves so that
Absolutely.
we can be
Absolutely.
here to take
Yes.
care of the
Yes,
people that we
I
love.
agree.
'Cause
And
we do it.
one
We do
way
it
of
so much.
right,
We
one
do it
way
so
of
much.
taking care of ourselves
We
is
do.
by knowing our bodies,
Yeah.
examining our breast,
Yeah.
knowing your breast,
Hmm.
doing your monthly self checks. We learned those things as young teenage girls, how to stand either in the shower
Yes,
and
sir.
examine your breast or lie flat in your bed with a pillow under the under your back on the side of the breast you're examining with your arm above your head, and take your fingers and slightly massage your breast
Circular
all
motion.
the way around,
Hmm.
circular motions,
And
doing
we
those
have to not ignore things when we
when you find them.
when you
That's right,
find them,
because they're not
because
going to go
one of the
away.
first things they ask me, like, you haven't had any like discomfort or you haven't felt anything. And immediately I realized my grandbaby, she would always come get in my lap and lay her head on my chest. Like every time she saw me, that'd be first thing she do, run up on my lap, lay her head. And I would just flinch because it was tender, it was sore, and it would hurt. And I would just say, lay on this side, mama. Just don't lay on that side, lay on this side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that had gone on for months and months, and I just dismissed it. I just dismissed it.
Mm-hmm.
I just dismissed it.
You had a
And
lot going on, though. I mean, you really did have a lot going on.
Yes. Okay.
So that's
You want to
understandable.
share some of your story, Michelle?
Yes. So as I said earlier, my mom had breast cancer at the age of 50, 54, and 59. And in the middle of that, I actually have always had lumpy breasts. So since I was 21, I'd always get checked. You know, they said it's a lot of calcifications. It's nothing. But I wanted to get a second opinion because I had fibroids and, I'm only 36. And so one doctor said, you need a hysterectomy. So I went for a second opinion. And of course, they did the full exam. Thank goodness. I went to Women's Hospital then. And the new doctor said, hey, I kind of feel something. And I said, oh, I have calcifications. I've had them for years. It's nothing. Thank goodness she said, no, let's just make sure we get you checked. So we actually did a biopsy. And so the funny thing is, the receptionist, when I called, they said, call Friday, call in Friday to get your, no, they hadn't called me. So I called in and say, hey, I haven't heard anything. And the receptionist said, who's not a nurse, she said, oh, baby, there's nothing wrong. You're fine. Right. So I hang up the phone and I'm thinking everything's fine. I get a call later that says, hey, come in on Monday. We know we want to give you your results. So I wasn't thinking anything of it. So I didn't bring anybody with me. When I got there, the doctor set me down and says, you have breast cancer. So this was at Memorial Hermann. So I immediately transferred everything over to MD Anderson. So come to find out, I had stage 3. It had spread to about, I think, 18 lymph nodes. So I had, my course of treatment was the Taxol and the FAC. So, which made me very, very sick, and neuropathy really bad. So it was kind of a struggle. It was kind of rough for me. So, and then I just had the lumpectomy, which they had to go in the first time. They didn't get everything out. The margins weren't clear. So they had to go in about, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks later and get the rest of it. So, but I healed rather nicely. So that was that. But I just remember when I was sitting there going back to when they said you have cancer, how they say it's like, wah, wah, you don't hear anything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You really don't. When
Yeah,
they said, because I'm
absolutely.
like, oh, well, the receptionist already told me, and they were like, no, I'm not. I guess she didn't look at it right, but it wasn't her place. God
That's
bless her.
right.
But yeah. So I was like, when they said it, I mean, literally, I couldn't see anything. And I got in the car, and of course, my mom had already had it twice by then. So my mom, I'm bawling on the phone because she's in Missouri, and she's like, "I gave it to you. I gave it to my baby." So we just,
Mhm.
yeah. My mom always thought that it was, and I did take the genetic. It's not, but
Yes.
she's a mother. She's a mama bear.
Right.
So that was the first time around. Got through it. Was on tamoxifen for 5 years. Got
Mm-hmm.
off. So this is 2005. 2011, they kind of saw some little stuff. They're like, nothing to really be afraid of. Just kind of started checking me. I didn't get back on the tamoxifen yet. Then 2015, I actually felt something this time. So I was in bed and I kind of leaned over and I said, "Oh, that's something's wrong there." So I immediately called and said, "My mammogram's not due till later on this year, but I need to get in now." So once again, I wasn't ready for it. They called and said, "Yeah, this time it was actually stage 0, but they said since you've already had cancer before, we need to go ahead and just take all that tissue out of that breast." So we're talking about the left breast. The right breast was the lumpectomy, the chemo and the radiation treatment. So left breast in 2015 was a bilateral deep flap mastectomy, where they take all your tissue. I got a little bit of a tummy tuck. It's gone now, but they took all the fat and created created a breast. And that was a pretty simple. I mean, as far as the recoup time, it was rather quickly, so it didn't really take that long. As far as I think I took 6 weeks off from work. I think I was up and moving in by the second week. Thank God, no pain, but had to get back on tamoxifen, which we can talk about that. I've had a lot of side effects from that.
Yes.
Yes, a lot of side effects for that, especially when you get older. The first time I was only 36. The second time I was closer to 50. there's a big difference in how you snap back. Let's just say that. First time I was like, hey, everything's fine. Second time I snapped back from the surgery, but all the side effects of the medicine just messed up, near osteoporosis and God knows what else is going on with me. But yeah, my family's in Missouri, so I was here. Thank God I had great friends that were here. My family, they all fly in and try to take care of me, 1 week at a time. But it was rough, but it was doable. And I said, a lot of people are like, why me? I said, what makes me special that I
Yeah.
don't get it?
Well,
Because God knew that I believed in him enough that he was going to heal me. So I said, I'll take it, Lord. And here I am now and fine, recovering, So I said, I'm not going to question him on that.
yeah. Well, one of out of 8 women will
Mm-hmm.
be diagnosed with breast cancer.
Right.
That's the
Mm-hmm.
statistics that
Yep.
are out there. So it's very common. And you mentioned some of the drugs that are commonly used
Yes.
in chemo, in the treatment of breast cancer. My journey was a little different. I came to Texas after Hurricane Katrina a year later, and I had just joined MD Anderson. I was 3 months employed by MD Anderson when I decided that I needed to get some doctors here in Texas since I was living here now. Found a gynecologist, went, and I had been getting mammograms because I had very dense breasts
Right.
with fibrous tissue. So I'd been getting mammograms since mid to late 30s. And so I was used to getting my yearly mammogram. As a matter of fact, the year before I came, right before I came to Texas from Louisiana, I'd gotten my mammogram, but Hurricane Katrina happened, so I never got the results. So I got the mammogram, and they told me that's when they called me and they told me, they saw something and they wanted to get me in to do a biopsy. Of course, I went in and did everything and was diagnosed with cancer. I think the feeling that you get, because I remember when the doctor said you have breast cancer, walking in faith, evangelizing the world, just so into God. And but when that doctor said you have breast cancer, I felt as though an elephant had been dropped on my chest.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
And
I
for a few
Mm-hmm.
know.
moments, I really couldn't breathe. And
Mm-hmm.
so, me being me, he said, I'm 99% sure it's cancer. I said, well, God is in the 1%.
Ooh, amen.
And so,
Amen.
there's a 1% chance I don't have cancer.
Which is true.
Well,
Which
I
is
had it
true.
and I went through all the traditional treatments, but the difference is, for everyone, I'm sure every one of us is our faith, along with the treatment that God inspired man to do.
Yes.
I did
Yes.
the Taxel, the
Yeah.
12 weeks of Taxel, which
Mm-hmm.
takes all of your lovely hair away, but your hair
Yeah.
grows back. Hey, hey.
Everywhere.
And the FAC, I only did one round because it was literally killing me. And so I told my
Good stuff.
doctors I wasn't taking anymore. And of course they were like, Joyce, we don't stop chemotherapy. You got to finish the course. But I said, no, I'm not taking anymore. I said, I told my doctor, I said, listen, I'm not going to die of cancer. I'm going to die of old age with my children and my grandchildren and my great grandchildren all around me. And that was before I even had a grandchild. So God is good. Today I have
Yeah.
7. And
Be
I'm
careful what
excited
you
about
wish
the
for.
journey that He's placed me on as a survivor. But I really came on tonight. I never really talk about my story. I've only talked about it a few times in almost 14 years of survivorship. I came on tonight, to let women know that we have to know ourselves and we have to take care of ourselves and we have to get the necessary examinations, um, not just our breast, but women health is very important
Mm-hmm.
because
Amen to
breast
that.
cancer is very prevalent among not just Black women, but we're the ones that's being most affected by it because we don't do early detection.
Exactly.
We don't monitor ourselves the way we should, and we ignore things or we go into denial. All of those things are common of us because of our faith. Faith is a factor in it. We start, yes, God is a healer and he can heal. And there have been women who have been healed completely of cancer. Changing your diet helps, and you do things, but you have to be vigilant when it comes to your women health. You have to be vigilant when it comes to your breast self exams, your yearly, your annual exams by a physician, your annual woman checkups by a physician. Don't ignore those things. Take those things very seriously, and see about yourself. Okay.
And one, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One thing I would add to, and what I saw when I was working with women on clinical trials with breast cancer, so many women made decisions based on um, influence from husbands or significant others
Hmm.
because they could not deal with um, changes that the woman may have to go, physical changes. And I personally, I remember one day just pleading with this patient, just pleading. Um, she had decided her mother she had six girls, two boys. Her mother, her grandmother, and all five of her sisters had already had breast cancer. Two or three of the sisters did not survive the breast cancer. When she was diagnosed, she was at a stage 3, and her anyway. She was it was not good, and just because what she knew from her sisters, her grandmother, her mother going through the experience, she had decided for herself that she just wanted to do the double mastectomy. But I don't even think it was a husband. I think it was a significant other. Did not want her to do that because he's like, I met you with two breasts, and why you can't just take medicine for it to go away. And it was just like, and she really wanted to do it, but decided not to do it because she said, if he left her, she would be alone. And it was just, I had so many emotions. I had, from anger to, I mean, I just went through a gambit of I ended up actually leaving work early that day because I just was a wreck because I couldn't believe that that was my first time experiencing that.
Well, I think a lot of things happen with self-esteem, and it
I
is a
just
change in your it's a change in your body image. When because I was one of those people that when I went to the doctor's office and he was talking to me, my oncologist, and he was telling me, well, the recommendation is bilateral mastectomy. When he said that, y'all, I did the blank. My mind, it was like Charlie Brown
yeah.
started speaking. All I saw was a
Mhm.
head with big lips because I did not, and it's as vain as it may sound, I did not want to be bald headed and flat chested. That was my own
and
summation.
and that's
That was
and
my own summation.
that's your feelings, and you're entitled to your feelings with
Let
that,
somebody
with the
else
situation.
dictate what your body should be like
Yes,
is another
yes.
thing. That's right.
Yes, that was
So,
another thing because even with me, with my lumpectomy, I always I say I'm lopsided now, and he's like, "You're not lopsided." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm lopsided." I'm like, I can see the difference. You might not see it, but I can see it and I can feel it. And even though I didn't have my whole breast removed, like the portion that it was weird because you touch yourself and you feel that space or emptiness or however you want to classify it as, and it's a real thing and it's not vain. When a doctor told you that, that's not vain. That's being human to try and visualize these drastic, because those are drastic changes. Those are drastic physical changes. And you're supposed to feel some kind of way about that.
It's a
You're not
loss.
supposed to be
It's a
jumping
loss.
up and skipping and celebrating that.
No,
But
it is
it
actually a loss. And anytime you
yes,
experience
it's
a
a
loss,
loss.
you're
It
gonna
is.
grieve. You're gonna grieve.
Yes.
But you know what?
Yes.
It's a loss to live. And that's the way we have to look at it. I mean, you
Yes.
live without breast. But technology and medicine has advanced so well that your breast can be reconstructed. Michelle had reconstructions. Lots of women have reconstructions and have better boobs. And the saying is, my old boobs tried to kill me, so
Uh-huh.
I got some new ones.
I like
So,
that.
without going, I thought Elena would have rejoined us by now. Without going too far off, just let's talk for a few minutes about how um, how have you been able to help others since your diagnosis? What things have you done to contribute to make sure that other women are educated, are empowered, and are enlightened concerning breast cancer awareness and how they can prevent from going through some of the things that you went through?
Well, for me,
Yeah.
since I was so young, I feel like I was young at 36 the first time. I have, been a part of Reconstruction of a Survivor, uh, a group for women. I think that's how you and I met,
That's
right?
how we met. Yeah.
But I have been an open book. Like a lot of times, I'll have a friend that says, "Hey, one of my girlfriends just got diagnosed," and I say, "Here's my number. Call me." And I've had several women call me, and I tell them the truth. I say, "This is what I experienced. You know how you have different side effects.
Right.
Sometimes you'll have neuropathy. Sometimes, but I tell them the truth. But I say, this is what I had. You may or may not get
Everybody's
it."
journey is different.
Right. But I do tell them, what to expect for somewhat, and I think I've helped out a lot because I didn't really have. I mean, I saw my mom go through it, but I was long distance, so I'd fly back and forth. I didn't really see how sick she get. My younger sister was home, so I didn't really get to see. But when I went through it, my mom came and helped take care of me. But I have just been an open book, and if anybody says I have questions, I'm like, I don't care what time and night, just call me and I'll let you know whatever I know. I will share with you.
Hmm.
Um, that's pretty much it. And like I've talked at a couple of breast cancer awareness luncheons and things like that. But I think the main thing is when you find somebody that's like, I'm scared. I don't have anybody in my family. 27 or whatever, and they're like, what to do?
Yeah.
I've gone with people to get their chemo treatments before, held their hand. I know how that is. So I feel like education, but the main thing is education. Before, I had one of my girlfriends this last week said, "Oh, I forgot to get my mammogram last year." I said, we on every year. I said, better, better. And so she went and got it. Everything was clear, but I had actually skipped a year or two when I was diagnosed the first time. So, like you were saying, Charlene, 6 months can make a difference. So
Yes.
and it seems like it grows. We get more. I know in the past we said that black women or women of color seem to get more aggressive. I don't know if it's because we wait so long or what it is, but it seems like when we do find out we have it, it's already more aggressive. It's already it's different stage 3, stage 4. So you have to stay on it. And so my girlfriends that don't have it in their family, I was like, you still need to make sure you do your self check every month, and that and like you said, your body. Any changes, go to your doctor.
Yep.
Like you were saying earlier, Joyce, I'm a believer in God. I know He's a healer, but He didn't make MD Anderson wasn't just put there. It was put there for a reason,
That's
Yep.
and
right.
the doctors. So I
Yep.
always say every time I'm in MD Anderson a lot, I always say God and MD Anderson saved my life
Yes.
because it's the truth.
Yeah.
So as Christians, we need to say God put these people on earth. He made physicians and nurses and
Reasons.
utilize them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Charlene, what have you done to assist women or people that have recent diagnoses, or someone that just came to you asking questions? How were you able to share and
Well,
help?
one of the things I did I wanted to, number one, make sure that I shared with women just in general before they got to a point where they got a diagnosis or something. So I wanted to first just reiterate to women the importance of having yourself checked, and just be, because, like I mentioned earlier, for whatever reason, growing up, it was almost like taboo for our ancestors to talk about, medical issues. I remember, like, my dad's sister, they were just like, oh, she has female problems. Well, what is that? What does that mean? But anyway, one thing that I did was I emailed. I just went down my contact list in my phone, and then just other people that I knew, and I shared my story, and
Hmm.
I even included pictures of my breast when I was dealing, because I had horrific radiation burn, like horrific. My burns were, if it was, they say it was equivalent to second and third degree burns. Like, I had horrific, to the point where for days I walked around my house with nothing on top, because I could not, nothing could touch me. Like, I couldn't have anything touching me. And I shared those pictures. And the reason why I shared those because I wanted women not to scare anybody. And I said that, and nobody, and I put a kind of disclaimer at the beginning of the email, to let people know that this is not to scare you. And I hope that it didn't make people uncomfortable. But just so you know, the realness of breast cancer, the realness of, you can talk about side effects, but and I had several people call me, and, or, they didn't email me back. They called me thanking me, that, saying that that was brave for me to do that, and I wasn't thinking of it of being brave or anything like that, and saying that they had never had anyone to be that open about it. And they all had told me, I've had a friend, or aunt, a cousin, or this or that had breast cancer, and nobody, like, shared and was that open about it. And a couple of people was like, it didn't scare me, but it woke me up, and I'm going to get my mammogram, because I haven't had one
Right.
in 4 years. I haven't had one in 5 years. And that's the kind of feedback I got. And it made me feel good, and not in a prideful feel good way, but feel good that, if one woman said, this woke me up, I need to go have myself checked, then I felt like that. Of course, I would want it to be many women, but if it was just one. And I just, friends who I know is their birthday, I call them and tell them happy birthday. And by the way, made another birthday, so that means it's time to get another annual mammogram.
Hmm.
And even my own sister, when she was going to appointments with me, and she was like, I need to get my mammogram. She said, I haven't had one. It's been close to 2 years. I said, yeah, you need to get it. So just,
Making people aware. You
just
made
making
make
people
people aware.
aware.
Right.
Yeah, it's not about scaring anybody or whatever, but if it makes you aware. And I tell everybody, don't be selfish with your awareness. Share your awareness with somebody else. And I've been blessed that I did an interview a couple months back that aired on ABC News, the 6 o'clock ABC News. MD Anderson has done several interviews with me. They posted one on the Cancer Wise, the MD Anderson blog, and a couple of other places. So I've had the opportunity to share my story, and I just hope it makes a difference, because we're dying when we don't have to. We
Right.
are.
Because the the cure rate for breast cancer beyond 5 years has increased tremendously,
Mhm.
and it's all because of early detection and prevention. So it's very important, women, that you do the things that we've reiterated throughout this show. Do your monthly self exams. Do your annual exams with your physician exams. Do your mammograms. If you're well, the regulation is 40, but we know that women are being diagnosed much earlier. So if you're doing your breast self exams and seeing your physician, if there's anything detected in your breast, the mammograms can begin earlier. And in my case,
Right.
being diagnosed at 44, that means that my two daughters must start their mammograms at the age of 34,
Good.
10 years prior to the age their mother was was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so that's important. If you've had a mother that was diagnosed with breast cancer, women, make sure that you're doing your yearly mammograms or examinations for sure.
For
Um,
sure.
Healthy, we have to start considering our health, and I'm guilty of being obese, but things that can help prevent
Mhm.
cancer. We have to monitor our weight, and our diets, watch what we're eating, high fatty foods and sugary foods. Those things contribute to cancers. Also, as you start approaching menopause, getting near 50 or um, perimenopausal, make sure you're exercising. Um, um, I think the recommendation is at least 70 hours of exercise a week, and at least 2 days of what do you call it, body strengthening
Mm-hmm.
exercises, with weight,
Mhm.
so that you can help your bones and your joints. So there are things that we can do proactively to help ourselves. Um, right now we're in the middle of this pandemic, and I know that I myself have become very sedentary because I'm working from home. I'm sitting at a computer all day. So I've had to make myself, begin to move. And I've gained, I called it the COVID 25,
Me too.
25 pounds since I began
COVID
this journey.
30.
So now I have to make myself, begin to be conscious of what I'm eating and make myself move to get this weight off. So, there are things as women that we can do to help ourselves. Diet, exercise, um, early detection, all of those things help you to, stay healthy in this journey. And if you've had cancer, in any form, female cancers, make sure that you bring awareness to your communities. Find out facts. Don't just try and use your story, because everyone's journey is different.
Different. Yeah.
Everybody's not going to go through the same things. The three of us ladies, we were fortunate to all have treated at MD Anderson, the number one cancer center in the world. We were fortunate in that. And, we don't take that for granted,
Nope.
but we know that cancer treatment, there are the same treatments being offered all over the United States. So, whatever your doctor is recommending, follow the recommendations and go through your cancer care. Um, like I said, we've three of us, and we've all had. Charlene did a proton treatment for her cancer. Michelle did chemo, radiation, and lumpectomy the first time, and bilateral mastectomy second time. I did chemo, radiation. Thank God I didn't get any burns, and chemo, radiation, lumpectomy. And so far, it's 14 years out. I've been cancer free. So we are grateful. We are grateful for the treatment that we were afforded. We're grateful for the that our detections were early. Every woman is not as fortunate to get it diagnosed early, but you know what? There are things, like I said, that we can do to help ourselves. And we have to begin to reach out to each other and make sure, because fear plays a part.
Oh
You
yes.
hear the cancer diagnosis, denial. We
Yes.
go into denial, and we don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to
Yep.
hear it. because if we don't hear it, we don't have to face it. So, all of those things. I mean, there's so many advances now. You don't have to die from breast cancer. Now, every breast cancer is not the same. There are breast cancers that are driven by hormones, some by estrogen, some by progesterone, and then there's one that's driven by what HER2. It's driven by another factor. And also, there's the inflammatory breast cancer
Right.
that's a little more aggressive. So there's different treatments for different types of cancer, breast cancer. But you know what? And even men, 1%
Yep.
men
Yep.
sometimes are diagnosed with cancers.
Yep.
So it's important that everyone begin to, get educated on how to survive. It's all about survival. It's all about survival. Ladies, you want to share anything else?
I have one thing I want to say too for
Hello,
women of
right here.
faith. For I'm sorry, y'all can hear
Hello.
me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. For women of faith, something else I experienced when I was working with breast cancer women, the women that just refused anything and just was like, well, I believe in God and God's going to heal me. And there is nothing wrong. We're supposed to have that what my pastor calls crazy faith. We're supposed to have that crazy faith. But what I would share with women when they would say that is, yes, I know that God is a healer. But just like Michelle said, there's a reason God created a MD Anderson or allowed a MD Anderson to come into this world. There's a reason why there are physicians and doctors. And what I would tell women, yes, God will heal us, but we don't know what vehicle he's sending the healing through. We don't know how the healing is coming. And to do nothing, and it was a that's a very slippery surface to be on when you're talking about people of faith whose faith is that strong, because you don't want to seem hypocritical, like, yeah, you say you believe but you don't believe, because if you didn't, and my question would be like, you know God, look at the examples in the Bible. And I would share with women, like when God spit in the clay and anointed the blind man's eyes. He could have spoke and said, "Let him see," but he went through. He did something.
Mhm.
He spit in dirt and made clay and put it on the blind man's eyes. So his healing, yeah, God healed him, but the healing came from God, but through what he put on his eyes. And God wants us, that's an example, that God wants us to see. You have to do something for the healing to come. The woman that was healed from the issue of blood, she did something. She touched his garment. She did something. So God wants us to do something and believe in him. When I was, when they told me, okay, you're going to have surgery, we're going to do a lumpectomy, my prayer then was, God, direct this surgeon's hand, guide her hands, give her a clear mind, give her steady hands. Whoever enters that operating room, let it be a sterile place. Let it be. So that was my prayer. When I did the proton therapy, I'm like, God, if this is how I'm going to be healed, God, then let me walk this path to this healing. So it's, for people of faith, we have to have that faith, but, God requires us to do something to
Yeah,
activate the faith. The faith has to be activated.
absolutely.
So, yeah, but
Michelle,
that's a
Yeah,
tough one.
I just want to piggyback off what Charlene said, that we have to do our due diligence. Like you said, God is doing his part. We have to believe in him, but it would be almost stupid to say, we have the number one cancer center in the world here with all these talented physicians that God gave them the talent to do this and not use them. But I guess I just want to leave to say, again, early detection and education. So we as sister survivors, it's like hold our other sisters accountable. Like you said, just make sure we're reaching out. making sure they're getting their mammograms, just education, education. And, of course, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but for us, we think about breast cancer all year round. We think, when you wake up every day, you see your scars and your wounds.
Mhm.
So I talk about it throughout the year and say, hey, did you get your mammogram or whatever? So anyway, just
Yeah.
education and this hold everybody accountable and just be your sister's keeper.
And that's
Sister's
important,
keeper.
being our sisters' keepers,
Hmm.
y'all. Well, ladies, thank you for having this
It's
conversation
been
tonight.
awesome.
People think it's easy, but it's really not easy, to talk about this journey, but it's necessary. It's necessary
Yeah.
that we let people know that this is really happening. This is happening every day. 1 out of 8 women every day is being diagnosed with breast cancer. So I know from knowing the producer and the creator of Bougie Girl that they always ask their guests before they leave this platform, what makes you bougie? And as I prefaced
Okay.
before, bougie means bold. It means one of a kind. It means you're unbothered by what people think about you. It means you're God's girl, you're intentional, and you're elegant. So, Charlene, what's your bougie?
Oh my God. Oh,
I have a bougie act.
I,
You're a what?
Well, I have a bougie act. So when I drink, I do the pinky. I lift my
So
pinky
that's
up every time I
elegant.
drink. That's it. Okay, so I'm
So you're
elegant. Thank
elegant.
you.
You're
Okay.
elegant.
Okay.
I think my bougie would be intentional.
Okay.
I do things and I do things with intent. I have a purpose. Motor might sound not so. Yeah, I do things intentional
Yeah. Well,
with
you know what?
intent.
It's
I'm just
yours.
bougie, honey. I'm all of those things. So take that.
And that is the truth. I can
All
vouch for
of it.
that.
How they say air
Over
quote,
time,
air
God has
quote.
helped me with being bold, because I've been one of those people that I don't always step up and say what I need to say. I'm always trying to find a positive spin to put on everything. But he's helping me with boldness, being able to use my words to say, no, I'm not going to do that, or no, this is not going to happen. So, ladies, thank you again.
Thank you
Thank you
all. This
for
has been awesome.
joining us tonight on this platform.
Yes.
I hope that when it's replayed, it helps someone. I
Yes.
hope that women will look into making sure that they not just in October, but every month of the year, every day of the year, take care of yourselves, ladies. Be good
Yes.
to yourself. There's nothing wrong with self-care.
Nope.
There's nothing wrong with self-care, and we're learning every day. The better care we take of ourselves, the better we'll be able to help others. So
Yes.
take good care of yourselves. Be good to yourself, uh, and just be bougie. Because you know what, we were fearfully and wonderfully made.
Wonderfully made.
And so
Yes, we
God wants
are.
us to be our best. So thank you again,
There you
ladies.
go.
I've
Thank
enjoyed this
you,
conversation with you.
my
And
survivor sisters.
you know what? God
Love
is good.
y'all.
Have a great
Yes,
Bye, my
night.
He is.
survivor
Have a great
sister.
night, ladies.
Okay.
Y'all too.
All
Thank
Bye
right.
you.
bye.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Bye